Hi guys, it's Jacob from Stringbuzz here, stringbuzzworld.org being the music journalism site. Links are in the description down below, and we have a brand new song review for you today, and it's the latest track by Becky Hill, and that's Rude Love Song. I'm going to refer to the original article as I usually do for these videos, so I hope you enjoy. So I've been a big fan of Becky Hill for a little while now, becoming more and more invested as she climbs both the charts and the general pop rankings around the world. She adds a bit more flair and fire into what has largely been a tame few years for pop music, especially in the charts. It's almost as if she's one of the last alternative pop singers out there who doesn't really want to conform to your typical pop stereotypes, ones which are at an all-time high at the moment. Whether it's her features on these big house tracks, which are often some of my favourite tracks of the year, or her own sort of rock-inspired pop tracks which have a bit more roughness to them than your average pop track. I seem to enjoy everything she really puts out without any second thoughts. So shall we see what I thought of this brand new track? Well, this is going to be such a strange track to really review because it has three notable sections that are all completely different in quality from my own personal perspective. The first third or so, maybe even the first half or so, I found a little dull and safe, with the synth breakdown feeling very cliche as the vocals are also a little lackluster on top of them, and phoned in as well. I just felt the song was a bit predictable for a Becky Hill track. But then after a big transition, we got this middle section that began to build and build ahead of this climax, and I found the build-up very interesting, very exciting, one of the best developmental sections I've heard in electronic music over the past week or so. And then finally we had this big anthemic climax, and it completely knocked my socks off, really. And I think it's such a shame that the first third/half didn't really have too much going on, because even on the re-listen, the song sounds physically separated in two, as if I'm listening to two separate tracks. Production-wise, the track is solid from start to finish, and I don't really have any issues with the mix or the mixing here. The pads possess sweet tones and timbres that glow in the background of the mix, actually often cutting into the foreground of the mix, filling the stereo field up with these really soothing textures and character. The bass is also thick and drives the low end really well throughout the entire track, especially alongside this big wholesome kick. Even the synth breakdowns, which I'm not a big fan of, were mixed actually pretty well, and I just didn't like them musically, I guess you could say. Becky also sounds very clear and crisp on this track, with lots of diction behind her words, with the vocals sounding just as strong as they usually do, as powerful as they usually do, without being too severely noise gated like your average pop singer. So all in all, it's a really great production cycle with not really any faults to it. One of the best of this week. When it comes to the musicality of this track, it definitely went through multiple phases in which it didn't perhaps know what it wanted to be or what it wanted to do. The first half is definitely just a stereotypical pop track in my opinion, with some predictable progressions on the instrumentation, hamstring textures that never really went anywhere and were kind of phoned in the entire time. A dull synth breakdown, as I've already mentioned, not a big fan of that. It was almost Chainsmokers-esque. And at lack of sort of memorable melodic development, I went on to say that even the hook was a little bit boring for me, which is never a good sign. But as the song picked up, the whole track sort of transformed into something much larger than the original sum of its parts. Suddenly the strings and pads dynamics rose to a crescendo, and we got these huge instrumental patterns that worked really well with Becky's natural power, creating a really impactful ending for the track. And during that middle section, as I've already mentioned, the synth breakdown did lead out the track, but the final time around, it had so much more decoration on top of it and instrumental layering with harmonies coming from every angle, and it seemed much more fleshed out, and I kind of wish we got more of it, to be honest. And it's a strange one, really, because I'm glad that she didn't put all her chips into one basket at the start of the track, because if it was just flurrying at you from the entire runtime, it would get a little bit dull and tiresome. But I just felt it needed some more decoration at the start, just to be a little bit more unique and just to lead further into this huge and epic climax. Lyrically, the track also has its ups and downs here. I don't particularly get the whole rude love idea, and I found it a little safe and predictable, to be honest. But then we had some interesting themes that got developed during this middle section, and I must admit I found them very intriguing. So all in all, it's a track definitely worth listening to, if only just for that ending. Whether you're a casual pop fan or even if you're a big fan of Becky Hill herself. If it had a stronger opening to it, then I'd have no qualms in giving it a much higher score, but unfortunately I can only give it a G rating of 6.5 out of 10, which is still nearly well above average. It's definitely above average. So if you like this video, then please leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you around next time. Bye-bye.